Hydration is key. Hydration. There is a big question out there for college athletes who know little about their hydration and how it affects their overall performance. Are athletes as hydrated as they should be? This is a very broad question that can relate to many athletes, but my specific focus is on college athletes and their knowledge about how hydration affects their overall personal performance. Multiple sports. There are many sports in college athletics that range from basketball to track to football and tennis and even golf athletes, and hydration can affect all of these sports. Are athletes hydrated? In my research, I found that there are many topics related to how much athletes should hydrate themselves, but I am curious to find out how much these athletes actually know how much they should be hydrated. Importance. My study is important because in today's world, many athletes know they need water, Gatorade, and even proper nutrition to perform well in their sport. But every little competitive edge could be the difference between a win or a loss, or even the difference between injuring themselves and playing an entire season. Being creatures of habit, we tend to start hydrating at a certain level each day, and if we do not make it a habit to hydrate our bodies and replenish our fluids, our goals and dreams could be crushed. Physical versus mental. Of course, we know that hydration affects our bodies and our physical performance on the field and court, but hydration affects everything from physical fitness and condition to cognitive function and mental health. Objective. My objective for this study is to find out how much athletes really know about their hydration, and I believe that better knowledge about their own hydration could lead to making better daily decisions and creating more efficient habits about what to drink and eventually lead to better success in their own sport. Each day, we make decisions based on previous knowledge that has been taught to us in the past. Many athletes in college do not always make the best hydration decisions. Of course, athletes don't intend to not drink water to become dehydrated, but sometimes it is not their main concern. Just like decisions, we also have habits. Each day, we are either feeding a habit or trying to kill a habit. But how often do college athletes change their habits? Many athletes come from high schools who either do not teach proper hydration habits or do not push hydration like they should. This can lead to college athletes coming to a brand new university and not killing those old habits, but feeding the bad ones. I believe that if we teach our college athletes about how their body and mind works when performing in their specific sport, we can initiate the thought process of killing a new habit and deciding to start a new habit to feed. Sport specific. Some say there is a fine line between success and failure, and being able to cross that line in today's world of sports could be very simple if we focus on our daily habits and try to improve ourselves. Being a collegiate football player myself, I personally know the risks of dehydrating during 2 days, or so we call it, camp. Being a 225-pound linebacker, I lost an average of 6.5 pounds each day during camp, and those weighing more than me lost a lot more. Although in sports like golf, some may argue that hydration is not nearly as important, and in a way, they may be partially right, but hydration affects everyone when performing physical activities. In a study called The Water in You, recorded by the USGS, says, the brain and heart are composed of 73% water and the lungs 83% water. The skin contains 64% water, muscles and kidneys 79% water, and even the bones are a watery 31%. Taking those facts into consideration, it is safe to say that if we are not creating habits of proper hydration, we could easily fail to give our bodies the water that we need in order to perform at our very best consistently. In sports like basketball, if a player's shot begins to fail, but they are training the same amount each day, yet not drinking the same amount of water each day, They could be blindly suffering and not even know what the reason is. In sports like basketball, if a player's shot begins to fail, but they are training the same amount each day, but they're not drinking the same amount of water each day, they could be blindly suffering, which is why knowing about our hydration is more important than we think. Factors. There are many factors that can affect hydration, one being how much water a person drinks per day or even the lack of. The second is the type of exercise that athletes do to lower the hydration due to sweating. The third factor is the environment, which includes heat and humidity as well as even the cold. Sometimes these factors may require some additional fluid intake, such as Gatorade or any other carbohydrate electrolyte drink. Of course, there are other drinks that affect hydration, like coffee, sodas, and even milk and orange juice. But water being the most inexpensive and calorie-free, it is still the most reliable form of hydration. Literature review. Weather. In the Journal of American College Nutrition, Maughan states, "It is an everyday experience for athletes and those with physical demanding occupation that exercise feels harder when the ambient temperature is high and there is a corresponding reduction in exercise performance." Considering that heat is a major factor for many outside athletes, humidity will normally affect all athletes as well as indoor athletes who may be able to escape the heat, but there is no way around the humidity. That being said, when it is cold outside, many athletes tend to think that they do not need to hydrate because they do not feel their body sweating. This is a huge misconception because the heat that our bodies produce while exercising still requires us to replenish hydration loss whether we can see it or not. Athletes can become aware of their own hydration by the color of their urine throughout the day. This is a great way to notice one's hydration, but another way is weighing in before and after a workout to test how much weight was lost. Countless hours of research has been done in order to allow athletes to have the resources they need to know how hydrated they should actually be. In the 1960s, this was not exactly the case. In a research done by Coyle in 2007, Coyle said, "Furthermore, the scientific literature in the 1960s was interpreted to suggest that dehydration by less than 3 to 4% of body weight caused insignificant hypothermia or impairment of physiological function and performance, although it was recognized that dehydration by more than 4% is dangerous to health. The amount of research that was available 60 years ago is tremendously lower than the amount of research that is available today. That being said, we have the knowledge that we need, but the problem is educating our collegiate athletes in order for them to succeed to the best of their abilities and advance their game to the next level." Methods. Qualitative research. In order to find out how much athletes know about their hydration and to help improve their knowledge about it as well, we can create a research method that is qualitative type research. This qualitative research is designed to pick the brains of young athletes to find out how much they know and to further improve their knowledge of hydration. In this research, we could use athletes at Texas A&M Commerce and will range from male to female sports, including football, men and women's basketball, softball, men and women's track, and volleyball. 3 starters will be selected, as well as 1 freshman with little or no college experience at all, and even an injured teammate from each team to answer some questions and engage in an in-person interview with me about their personal hydration method on and off the field. The independent variable is the teams associated with the interview, as well as the type of players I have chosen from the team, such as starters, the freshmen, and the injured players. While the dependent variable is how much each athlete knows about their own hydration. I selected the majority of the players to be starters because they have been involved with their sport at a collegiate level for some time. I chose a freshman with little experience as well as an injured player from each team to provide an insight for players who may be looking for an edge to get back in the game or simply just want more playing time as a freshman. Normally, a questionnaire would be handed out to athletes, and most athletes would fill out their answers in just less than 5 minutes because hydration is just simply not that important in the mind of younger individuals. I plan to personally interview each person to add value to the topic of the hydration in college sports. Questions. These questions will include the following. How hydrated are you right now? What is your hydration routine before practice and why? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most, how hydrated are you throughout a full competition or game? Where did your hydrating habits begin most likely? Have you ever considered drinking more or less water than you normally do? Do you normally turn down the opportunity for more water during practice? What about during a game? How do you feel when you know you are dehydrated? How does your body feel? Have you ever experienced headaches during mid-game? Do you ever wake up feeling tighter than usual when you know you are dehydrated? What liquid do you ingest the most? Have you ever experienced cognitive fatigue during a serious competition? Do you believe that you are educated enough about your personal hydration? How long can you go during a workout or competition without taking a drink? What makes you want to drink water? Have you ever felt like you needed more than water? Do you drink any sports drinks like Gatorade or Powerade on a daily basis? How much water do you drink in a day? Do you know how much water you're supposed to drink in a day? Have you ever had an injury due to lack of hydration? Who pushes your hydration during competition more than you? Analyzing. I plan to analyze the answers from each player by comparing the questions to the independent variables that I chose before. I will compare the starters from one team to another and the freshmen from one team to another, as well as the injured players from one team to another. In order to analyze this data, I would need to put answers from each team member side by side to those variables alike and compare the similarities and differences of each player to find out how much college athletes know about their own hydration. This may take 3 to 4 days depending on how far the questions will be compared and how much data I collect that will differ from each other. I would also like to find out if the injured players will do something differently about their hydration while working on coming back into their sport and then even after then. The reason for testing freshmen from each sport is to see how much they actually know about their hydration and ask their own questions. Conclusion. As human beings, it is important that we all stay hydrated to a certain extent. We need water to live, and college athletes need water even more to keep their body hydrated and ready to go at all times in order to perform to the best of their abilities physically and mentally. College athletes may not know enough about hydration, and I believe that is important because our bodies are up to nearly 60% water. Not only do we need water to survive, but we need it to thrive and live to the best of our capabilities. If we can simply educate our college athletes about hydrating better and creating more efficient habits, we can also improve the game of the future professionals as well.